Good luck again. We are in the Parsha, we're starting again. And this is Torah Ohr Vayishlach. First of all, before I start, I would like to thank David Rieger for helping me on the technical side. Hopefully the sound that you're hearing right now is much better because I have more professional equipment, and that was after he gave me the advice how to use it. So thank you very much. And now we're going to get straight into the Parsha. I also apologize for last week that it just was crazy, couldn't make the shiur on time. So hopefully this week we'll make up for it. Okay, so we know that we are in Parshat Vayishlach. And in Parshat Vayishlach, the first thing that Yaakov does is sending malachim to his brother, now to Esav. Now, we have to understand that when we look at the Targum Onkelos, the translation of Onkelos, he uses a very peculiar explanation. He calls it Izgadin. Everywhere that you look in his translation, when the word malach, angel, is appearing, then automatically he translates it as malachaya. This time, it was translated as Izgadin, which begs the question, why? So one of the explanations is that the continuance of what Rashi explained later. He says, malachim mamash, real malachim. And on that, there's several explanations. One say that don't think that sometimes malach is also another word for messenger, and sometimes malach is talking about a real angel. So in order to take any doubt in what was that Yaakov sent to Esav, then he called it malachim mamash. That's one explanation. The second explanation was according to Chassidus, and that explanation is that he sent the mamash of the malachim. The spiritual part he kept with him, and the physicality, or what you call physicality in a malach, he sent to Esav. And the reason is because Esav is from Olam HaTov. He's a very, very powerful person in spirituality, much more powerful than Yaakov in his shoresh, in his root. And he had to send them, but he keep the mamash, so Esav, cannot affect them in any way. And by the way, this is one of the things that the Rebbe relied on when he gave an answer, how come he sent young boys to places that are not pure so much in order to do mivtzaim, from tattoo parlor to near the beaches and things like that, that one might ask, well, that's not a place of a bachur. Why are you sending there? So one of the things is that when the person is connected to the one who sends him, then there is no effect. There's also another explanation of that, either the tarid lemiflat lo bala, when a person is busy in giving out, he's not really absorbing. You cannot absorb and give out at the same time. You take a sponge, and when it fills water, and if you squeeze it, it's not going to fill up with water, because when it exerts the water, you cannot take in. So those are the two explanations to that. So now we know, we go back to the page. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav el Esav achiv. Yaakov sent malachim to his brother Esav. In Yadua, we know that Yaakov, his root, is from Shem Ma, the Olam HaTikun. V'shosho shel Esav u'mbchinat Olam HaTov. Like we explained a minute ago. Shem Ma, we need to stop for a second. Shem Ma is mevarer, meaning it separates two separate things. You have Shem Ban, that's mitbarer. Shem Ma is mevarer, meaning that every time that you take Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei and you fill it with different fillings, like for example, Milui Yud. So it will be Yud Vav Dalet, and then Hey Yud, and every time that you add a Yud to the letter, then the sum of it will be 45. And so, and in a different way is adding Alefing and Hey and Yudin, and each form gives you a different number. So one of the combination is 45, and it's Shema. So Yaakov, his root was Shema of Olam HaTikun, while Esau, his root is from Olam HaTov. That's why also Esau could not really get used to what's going on in this world. He was a very huge light, and the vessel that held him was not so big. And so instead of working on himself and expanding the vessel and benefit the world from his high level, he just broke down and he went all the way to the other side. So like the Alter Rebbe says here, that the lights of Tov are very big, very large, and could not go into the vessels. Now, to explain it in a way that we can understand, what does it mean that it's a lot of light and it cannot go into a vessel? Think about it this way. Imagine that you try to explain an idea to a child the same way that you explain it to somebody who is learned and understand what you're talking about. So when the person, you explain to him and tell them like the idea to the adult, he can accept it. He have the tools, he have the vessel to accept what you're saying. He can agree or disagree, but he can understand what you're saying. But if you say the same idea to a child, a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, he's not going to know what you're talking about, and because his vessel is not ready for that. And that's what it means, that the vessel is not ready to receive that much light. So imagine somebody with the mind of a genius, and like Esau, because Esau understood things, Esau learned things. Esau, when he came in front of his father, he prepared himself. He did the preparation. He understood what a tzaddik is. But he could not relate to this world. And that created by him so many conflicts that he basically went off the dirt. And the last straw was when his father passed away, then nothing could hold him down anymore. And that's why Yaakov actually had to run away from him. So he says that those lights could not be put inside the vessels. And they went away from the vessels, and they became the level of Makifim. And the Kalim broke and fell down. So Makif is when the light itself cannot go inside the vessel. So imagine for a second, on the same way of like when you're taking a cup, that is a small cup, and you're trying to put it inside the ocean. So there is water coming inside of it, but it cannot hold the entire ocean in that cup. So this vessel is too small. It cannot hold it. Everything that's outside this cup is a makif, is surrounding the vessel. Now, that's not a problem. Could be a bigger problem is when you put it under raging waters, like put that same plastic cup under the Niagara Falls, and the cup will break. It will crush from the rush of the water, from the strength. So the same thing here, when the vessel cannot hold this much light, it breaks. Our avoda in this time is to take Or the Tohu and put inside the vessel, to take those huge lights that cannot be held in the beginning into the vessel. Our job is to prepare it and put it into the vessel. So he says that they above the Or the Tikkun, the Or the Tohu, they're above the Or the Tikkun of Moshe Ba'er Lekaman, like we're going to explain soon, Be'ezrat Hashem. On the pasuk, So in order to explain it, we have to go to a different pasuk. On the pasuk, Vayikach min haba biyado mincha, and he took for anything that he could to bring mincha, to bring a sacrifice. וכמו שנתבהר גם כן בפרשת תולדות על פסוק ריח בני. Also, it's explained in another mimer that start with the pasuk ריח bni. Look at the scent of my son. That when Yitzchak felt the scent of Yaakov and he scented Gan Eden, and he thought that we're talking about Esav, so he was very happy to think that Esav is right now has the same scent of Gan Eden. So he believed that Esav had a tikkun. Esav could reach that level of becoming a tzaddik. After Yaakov went to Lavan, he went to Haran, he went through all those problems, and he succeeded to overcome, he succeeded to stay holy, he succeeded to raise himself, and not just that, also to take all the tzaddikim from Lavan, Leah, Rachel, and so everybody else, and his sons and everything. So he separated anything that was holy by Lavan, he took away. And then he thought that since he spent so much time and so much effort, then maybe, just maybe, Esav also worked on himself. He knew that Esav had a problem. He knew that Esav had to struggle, but he also knew the power of Esav. So he knew that Esav, if he would apply himself, he could become a tzaddik. So therefore, he went back to Esav to see where he's standing. Even more so, when he saw Esav, he told him, I finished the berurim. So it's going to be explained later, so I'm jumping a little bit forward. So let's go back. So we said that Esav, he thought that Esav already was nidbarer, he's already worked on himself, and he went back to his lofty root, meaning the level of Makifim, the toe that before the Tikkun. And that's why Yaakov sent Malachim in front of him mamash, meaning in the level that above him, in the level of Esav, his brother, Seira, the place of Seir, and that was another name of Esav. Bechinat, the level of Malchim Kadmaim, the level of early kings, the ancient kings, the toe, Bechinat Makifim Kanal. And that's the level of the toe, which is Makif, which is a high light that cannot hold in the vessel. Also, you have to also pay attention that it says Seira is also a kind of Tzimtzumim, that we're talking about. Se'ar is a matter of Tzimtzumim. That's why we're trying not to have long hair unless you're a Nazir and you sanctified your hair in this way. Then we're trying to shorten the hair of the head and the hair of the beard to get it long, and that is bringing down things, bringing out all the dinim, like what it says, על זקן הארון היורד, כשמן הטוב היורד על זקן הארון היורד על פי מידותיו, meaning the oil, which is represented by Chochmah, is represented by the beard. In this case, it was talking about the beard of Aaron. So he went to Esav, and he says to the Malachim and said to them, that's the way that you're going to say to Esav. Im Lavan garti, I lived with Lavan, vayhi shor v'chamor, and I have already the ox and the donkey. And as we know, the ox representative of Mashiach ben Yosef, which was Bechor Shor, that represented by the ox. The chamor is Ani Rochev al Chamor, it representing Mashiach ben David. דהיינו שהודיעו שכבר נגמר ונשלם כל סדר התיקון דאצילות. He already told Esav, I did everything. I finished already all the tikkun, all the mending that I needed of the Atzilut completely. I finished everything. All the levels, all the aspects in Olam Atzilut, in the level of Shor v'Chamor. He says, I have Tzon, ve'Eved, ve'Shivcha, and I have all the animals, all the servants, all the servant maids, and all of them were already being purified, and all of them were elevated by Shema. Like we said, Shema is Mevarev. And that's what Vayihili, I did already. And all this, and all this came to me because I lived with Lavan, because I had to go to this lower level of Haran and deal with Lavan. Yes, it was a difficult time, but it was elevating me to the point that I finished all that I set for myself to achieve. So Lavan is representative in Kedusha, it's representative Bechinat Loven Ha'elyon, the high level of whiteness, meaning over there is no darkness at all. So as we see that a lot of time when you have a very low level in this world, in the higher world, it representing a much higher level. The higher it goes in the worlds above, it can fall, not always, but it can fall down in this world. So for example, if we look on the inanimate objects in their root, they are much higher than living and the talking objects, like us. So he says, I finished everything, and by working with Shema, and all this is because I was with Lavan. That from there, I drew the main power and the main Shefa, meaning Yaakov, to Yaakov, that owns the Olam Atzilut, in order to fix and mend and separate good from bad. And since he finished everything completely in the most perfect way he can do that, from now it can accept the Makifim the Tov. So he says, basically he says to Esav, I've done everything. Now all you have to do is be yourself, bring who you are really as a Jew. And that will be accepted by all the work that I did until now. I prepared the world, the reality, to accept you as you are without everything breaking down. So now, when I finish all my work, now it's a place that is complete, that can be worthy to accept those higher makifim, higher surrounding lights, the ones that cannot go into vessels. That's why I sent to say to my master, in order that you like me. And what is the liking here? What Yaakov was not sure. He looked for his brother to like him. He didn't have enough children or wives to love him. So he said, no, because the whole idea of liking me is that Esav will agree to bring his makifim, to bring his ashpach to Yaakov. That's the Nesiat Chen that we're talking about. And why is that? Why he would accept his offer and give him his makif in this Olam HaTikun from Olam HaTov is because Vayhi Lisho v'Chamor v'Tzon, because I already prepared myself for that. The Ithabcha Chashucha L'Noora b'Olam HaTikun. I turned darkness to light in this world. That means it's atar shlim. It's a fixed, ready-made place that can accept you. Im ken ra'ui ani limtzo chen b'einecha. So, because all the work that I put, because all the experiences that I went through, all the challenges that I went through, I became worthy that you can give me this blessing and giving me that ashpa that's called Esav, the Makifim. So we finished here. That was a very short paragraph. There's many more mamarim in this parsha, but this is the first paragraph. And we have to also understand that many times the Rebbe spoke about Tama Avodat HaBirurim. We finished already the Birurim. We finished already everything. The only thing that left is Im Duachem Kulchem. You have to wait and accept the Geula. And how you accept the Geula? You accept the Geula by doing one thing, trying to look for godliness in everything. You're trying to understand everything that you learn, how it comes in this world. Because you don't learn Kabbalah. You don't go into lofty worlds and learn philosophy and things that cannot be accepted in this world. You learn all these things in order to understand what you're really seeing in this world, to understand that this world is much higher than what you think, that this world can offer much higher levels than what you even knew. And when you start observing all those levels in this world, your view of the world will change. Your view of people will change. Everything will change, because then you understand the world in a completely different way. So I'll finish here, and I'll bless you all to see with new eyes, new mind, to understand everything. And may Mashiach will come to mamash. Thank you.